Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Loading. In this episode, I want to actually give it a try. This Blender 2.79 build with a Eevee renderer. So this is not the official build. If you go to blender.org, the latest one that's official is 2.78C, but there's also a version with 2.79, and I don't think this one comes with Blender Eevee renderer yet. But anyway, this is the bleeding edge kind of build, and I just want to test it out. This one comes with a clay renderer and then also Eevee renderer. I'm especially interested with a Eevee renderer, which is like a basically like a real-time renderer, kind of like the one you might have in Unity or Unreal Engine, and it can render like high realistic objects in real time. So I'm just gonna give it a try, and I'll try to actually play around with the bloom effects. I really like how real time it is, and you can use like all kind of light, like the usual area light, etc. But the one that I'm most interested in is the emission, and the bloom is especially kind of very cool. So I'll give it a try. I don't have Sverchok add-on or Animation Nodes add-on installed in this version. I tried it and I couldn't install both Animation Nodes and Sverchok yet. Maybe there's a trick to do that. But anyhow, yeah, this guy, if we use nodes and switch it to emission, you will see that it is already like rendering kind of like a light, but it doesn't really emit yet. But we can try turning on bloom, and the bloom is especially powerful. I found that because it's kind of simulating light in a nice way. It's doing this blooming stuff, and if I switch to the compositing, um, this is like a bleeding edge Blender build, so I will save it as Eevee test. It might crash anytime sometimes, and it doesn't have any compositing layout yet, so I will have to find the nodes editor myself. So I like using nodes because it's so easy to kind of look at the attributes and change it in real time. So yeah, I found that this real-time bloom effect is really interesting. It looks really cool, and we can kind of play around with it. So that's the default. You can play around with the strength. If you increase the strength really high, it's gonna bloom so much. You can also play around with the color, and yeah, like I saw on a tweet today, there's this work, there's a animated GIF of this blooming effect, kind of reacting to music, and you can basically create music visualization very easily. And I kind of wish this Eevee will eventually work with Animation Nodes and Sverchok, and it's going to be so powerful. I've been using Animation Nodes and Sverchok for a few years now, and it's kind of, I took that for granted. This node thing is very powerful, and I know some people will still think like this node's workflow is like a headache. It's like too technical. It's not for artists. It's not really true, because in fact you can do a lot of very powerful and sophisticated effects even as an artist simply by using nodes, and you can make a lot of like the customizations, and really it makes things very easily. Try doing what you can do with Animation Nodes and Sverchok using codes, using just Python. That's actually really hard. Of course, you can always say, okay, but someone can make like an add-on, right, to make life easier for artists. Yes, add-on is like a bundled nodes and all written in codes, and sometimes you do get a bit of customization here and there, but nodes thing is really powerful. I will show you, like here I don't have Sverchok and animation nodes, and the way you can kind of make procedural animations is either by maybe using driver or Python, or you can also use the built-in modifier like for animators in Blender actually provide tools for that. Say this is like if you want to animate this kind of a blooming effect, right? You can perhaps like keyframe it. Let's say you want it to be on and off like this. You start with off, off state, and I'll make a keyframe here. Like I'll tap I, and this create a keyframe, and I'm gonna go to frame 20 and increase this to 4, and then keyframe it again, and then here I go back to 0, keyframe it again. So that will create an animations, and you can of course repeat this, right? This is like this is one type of this is called manual animations, and if you want to repeat it, and then you start to enter kind of procedurality, because let's say I'm gonna now jump into the graphic editor or the graph editor for animations. Okay, here let's say you want to repeat this. You can turn this, perhaps you can turn it into actions and then kind of copy and paste the actions. I haven't been doing things manually for a while, so it's maybe it's time I have to kind of mix the workflow, but I like doing it with nodes and procedural, So that's a single animations. If you want to duplicate it, you can perhaps turn on like infinite or something. So I can't actually remember, but there is yeah, there's this generators modifier. This is for actually for animators. Generated polynomial. This thing will actually override the keyframe animations that I just made. Expanded polynomial. Okay. Anyway, let's just continue on. So this modifier is pretty much what add-on like Animation Nodes and Sverchok can do using nodes. You can add things like noise. Modifier is actually very, very powerful in Blender. So we can kind of create this kind of effect. So this blooming effect now is being override by this modifier, and we can create some kind of linear effects with added noise. So you get this kind of increasing exponentially, not exponentially, it's like increasing strength here. It's going up until, I don't know, like never ending. And that's kind of a type of procedurality in a way, but you're using a modifier instead. Let's say noise itself is cool, but cycles, maybe actually cycles doesn't work. Maybe we can use things like built-in functions. Now, built-in functions tend to scare people a little bit, because it's suddenly you get this kind of wavy animations, and you kind of wondering what does it do. It's like making this like a really strange wave. This is a sine wave, and you can do this also easily using Animation Nodes and Sverchok. This one has nice visualization with it, and you can play around with the amplitude and the phase multiplier, and you can kind of see the result. So this is a type of procedural workflow, but again, it's more like a modifier. It's a stack kind of a procedurality. You keep stacking modifier. With nodes, you actually have a lot more freedom to do this. If I can make Animation Nodes and Sverchok to work with Blender Eevee renderer, and then we're gonna have like a really cool time. So this is just one example. It's the value goes from 0 to, by default, the amplitude. This is the amplitude. See, I can increase it or decrease it, but it goes down to minus. Currently, this strength is actually minus. You can see from here. This is just a value changing over time for this emission. We don't want it to go under 0, so we probably need to offset it not offsetting that way, but like that way. See, now it's a bit nicer. It goes in a sine wave. Yeah, like I said, Eevee render is really cool. If you have like a powerful graphic card, you probably can run this in 60 frames per second. Currently it's 24 on my computer. This is my old computer. It's my old Windows computer. My Mac can actually run Eevee surprisingly well, and even though it's just like a CPU only, this one should actually, if I turn on the GPU, oh, it's already on. Okay, that's why I get the bloom. Let's try actually like different color, or maybe try to make this like not blinking at the same time. I'll save this first and try to offset the sine wave. Like you said, like you saw earlier, I can easily offset it like this, or change this multiplier and amplitude. This is all a sine wave. Okay, you can easily do this also using animation nodes. I'll show you later at some point, but this is just Blender, and Blender built-in modifier for animations. Okay, the light, actually we can use light as well, but I like using this guy. Okay, I was gonna change the material. Okay, Blender just crashes, it's okay, and I will reopen. Like I said, this is like Blender, not official build of Blender, so it's gonna crash. I will now change the material of these objects. Currently, these three objects are using the same material. You can see here, three objects using the same material. I can probably click on this guy, and now every objects have a different material color. Maybe I can change the color. So yeah, this guy red. So they're still blinking. Let me delete all this light. They're still blinking, but and different color, and I kind of want to offset the blink as well. Kind of wondering if we can easily just offset it here. Seems like this is still using the same data. So I need to, let's say I'm selecting the red color one, and I'm gonna clear the keyframe from this guy. Let's clear keyframes, and all the animations disappear now, which is kind of interesting. But anyway, I'll try to keyframe the red, for example. Keyframe it, and so we have the red working. Now we have the blue color one. Okay, now they are separate. Cool. So I can kind of control this emission strength at different time. So let's control this guy using the modifier. Okay, so the green one, doesn't matter actually. I'll just use the built-in functions, and I just gonna add animations to the green one. Play around with the amplitude, offset it like that, and now we have procedural animations for the green color. Somewhat the blue also kind of doing it. It's very strange, but anyway, now I switch to the red color one, and gotta make built-in functions. Similar process. Play with the face, offset it, and now we have this animation. So the green one is still kind of weird. Let me check why. Clear keyframes. So this guy and this guy should be actually different. I don't know why it's the keyframe. So this guy keyframe as well. Now I have the green one and the blue one separates. I can again use the built-in functions, just the sine wave, increase the amplitude, reduce the phase, offset it. Cool. Okay, now the blue is working and I have slight offset. Now the animations become a little bit more interesting. Now I'm gonna work with the green color one. So the green only have a single keyframe, but this modifier will override this the animations anyway. So increase the value, increase the amplitude, play with the phase. I promise you I will actually do the similar kind of animations using Animation Nodes or Sverchok if they work with this Eevee renderer at some point. So now we can see the green also works. Now they are blinking with in a different slightly offset animation, and this is kind of really natural looking. And I think that's pretty much it for today, live noding, and I will actually get rid of the floor and just have this kind of blinking. I think this effect's really cool. Like I said, this can be like really powerful for music visualizations, and because the effect's still kind of live, because you're using modifier, you can always change it. With a Blender actually works with a real-time music. If you know how, you just need to bake things and then kind of hook one with another, using drivers to control what happens in the 3D view. It crashed again, but I will quickly restart it. Oh, there you go. I was gonna make it like full screen, but anyhow, this is full screen. I was trying to get to this guy. Okay. One more time. Back to this guy, back to previous, that one disappear. Oh well. So 3D view should work on the top. I want to get this view with the animation graph editor. Drive first, no. F curve, select this guy. Okay, this is the view that I want. I'm going to save this again just in case it crashes. This one should be the timeline. Okay, now this is I think really good visualization of what's going on. So each of these Eevee, the intensity of these emissions is being controlled by this modifier, by the functions, the sine wave. Very cool. Now, because this is procedural, you can always change the amplitude, make this maybe increase the phase, and now it's gonna blink faster for each one of them. It's very cool demo with the bloom and stuff. Yeah, you can play with the amplitude, maybe they don't bloom so much, maybe. Multiplier, slower or faster. Now let's make it faster. This is looking at the green one. Oh, maybe I shouldn't do that. It's gonna be like blinking so much. It's not good for your brain. So let's offset it until it looks desirable. So because with animations, it's always good idea to kind of offset things to make things more natural. Sometimes you want them in sync with each other, but sometimes you don't want it. Now I'm selecting 3 of these objects, and we can see and visualize the animation. So it's always a good idea to have this. You can continue, keep doing this, and you can always, add things like noise. Noise even gonna make this more interesting, a little bit of jitter here and there, increase the strength. Suddenly you have a totally different animations here. Look at the red color one. So I think I can give you these blend files, and you need to have this Blender build 2.79 with Eevee renderer. Yeah, but again, like I said, it's very, very cool, very powerful. I just can't imagine when we have like the final versions, Blender 2.8 with Eevee renderers. It's gonna be so powerful, especially if it works with Animation Nodes and or Sverchok. It's gonna be wow. You can create your own like a demo scene with music, and you can do animations, all the kind of complex stuff in real time. You see, yeah. At some points, I also want to hook up Blender with my Apple app development. Currently, I'm still learning to code using Swift and using Xcode app for app development, and using my iPhone and iPad to play around with the augmented reality. Imagine this kind of real time in front of your eyes. You just use glasses, and you can do this kind of real time thing in Blender and kind of pipe it into your device. It's gonna be so cool. Yeah, we'll see how it goes in a few years time. But for now, you can do this at home using your computer. Just do real time blooming and procedural animations. See, enjoy. Hopefully you find this useful. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.